we've got quorum and we're going to go into work session. So, welcome to work session.
Thank you. So, Mr. Chairman and School Board, I just, being new to the district, I just need to, and we have so how new board member, congratulations, welcome to your first meeting. But to try to get all of us up to speed, so I have a little outline. I emailed that to everyone, and just to talk about the topic is the district bond and the facility, what we're looking at. So I've spent a lot of time on some of this, trying to figure out what's our next steps. And a little history. We have a very good company, and the board, former board members can jump in here and help us out with that history. But we have some options out there on the table, all the way from, I would say, to a a very nice automobile, all the way to a very luxury automobile options. So, anything the board wants to talk about with the history of what we got out there with our company?
Well, the history that we've done so far.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we've had a couple of public meetings. I remember one at 80 Hay, where we had about a dozen folks. Lane. Most of them were teachers. There was a few people from the public. Where it was kind of our first introduction to the group that we hired. To discuss, what needed to be done. We really talked about, some of the issues with our buildings and facilities, where we needed to go as far as, upgrades and whatnot. Just kind of laying some things out there. We didn't even talk costs or anything, I don't think, but it was a good discussion. Annie has maybe something she can add there. Go ahead, Annie.
So there was a board meeting where they flew in, and there were some costs, and Michael's right, it was a very expensive cost, and it was to start over in a few of the buildings for more modified costs where you would add on more at 80 Hay. I hate to use the word, you wouldn't do as much infrastructure over there at the high school and middle school, and put a little more over here at the elementary school. There were shifts of price points and exactly which buildings we wanted to tackle. And then there was also the idea of, I think that we had after we saw the tour, of bringing the Daily Middle School back versus trying to flatten it and the cost to a high school and DMS ground. And so I think, in my memory serves me, the last time we were in person, a large number, and we were talking about trying to whittle that down. I think Darwin did the math, like it was $1,600 for the taxpayers at the largest scale number. And I can't recall that, but I do remember what it would cost per person for homeowners. And talking about doing little chunks and being able to build up once we start something, and having add-ons and maybe a more manageable number for our taxpayers, all of us included. So that's what I recall.
We also did get report outs, of options, and then also COVID came along.
Yes.
And next thing you know, we went home last spring, and we didn't come back. So we chose to table it. The timing wasn't good. We also were in the process of hiring a new superintendent, and wanted to give you an opportunity to review our facilities, see what we got, not put you under the gun to be under a November election. Your first few months you got here.
I don't think we could have pulled it off with COVID.
And so the November election has came and went, and so here we are. And I think, without getting into a lot of details, I think that's basically where we're at.
That's what I appreciate. I just wanted to make sure we started off with the history. I think that helps a lot. So I just want to give you a little bit about what we've done now. So I have a long-term facilities plan. There are two of them. So I have both binders here, and I have some of it online. So I've looked at that and see what's part we can roll over, what's out. Some of the stuff is outdated, so I wanted to make sure that that is something we talk about. What I would look at here, and if the board tonight, I'm hoping to get guidance from the board if they want to move forward, and then discuss what our next steps are. But based on this, on the seismic, I got the seismic grant here from DMS. I looked at some of that, seen what we did and didn't do. What I'm looking at now is the seismic grant, even with our budget, is still going to be going forward. So we're eligible for that. We can get up to $5 million. And if we did that, plus the matching facilities, that's 8. And then if we did a block grant for 1.5, which the chance of that is about 80%, but the other two, the seismic and the matching facilities, are almost 100 if we pass the bond. So if we did that we could bring in, 13 to 14.5 million dollars, and then when we went out for a bond anywhere from the range of 35 to 45 million, then it's not going to be that bad for our community. So I just think that if we look for a bond and the board gives us that direction to go forward, I think we also need to go at the same time simultaneously and look at matching funds. Because the key thing on this one, like an example, is one of the directions was if we build part of that new building between DMS and the high school, the seismic grant will allow us to get all new roofs for that new high school, and that way we can tie it in, and the engineers can tie that in and the work. And theoretically, we could also leverage our ability to go out for a good contractor, for a contractor and make it worthwhile for them to have a whole crew here. So we, of course, treat as much local. Has always been a big focus of mine. I'm assuming that's a focus of our boards too. But we can write that up accordingly. So what I'm looking at here, progress made. My own personal observation is, I think we need to get community. If the board says move forward, we need to have a couple community members meetings. We need to send out a survey to our entire community and our staff and see what people want. And we'll get that big ideas here and then start funneling it down and see what we can do, and then look at the cost from what we've already paid for and see what can be replicated or what needs to be modified. That being stated, then what we could do is actually come up with our facilities, our long-term facilities plan would dovetail into the bond. So that way we can keep things moving forward, and we wouldn't spend money on something that is it hurts people's feelings a great deal when you go spend a couple $100,000 and then later on we tear that down or we don't need it because we put something new in. So that's what I would like to, look at. So I think it's important that, we have our facilities plan here. We have a little work session with that with a couple of the board members, committee members. And then what we do is say, okay, here's what we know we have to do in the next couple of years, no matter the bond or not. But then also what can we forego and include it in the bond. So that will help with our facilities for our maintenance budget. Then I do think we leverage the special grants. And then I think we talk about the economic forecast and get the community's feedback, with the committee to see how we're doing, and make sure we pass that. So I will mention that I did send out to the board, the latest financial update forecast that came out today, and we're looking at least $1 billion shortfall for the state. So that being stated, roll-up costs for the state of Oregon is about $9.5 billion, and we're looking at $9.3 billion, so it's a couple $100 million short. The legislature will be working on that. So if that happens, then we have to figure out what we're going to do with that. But that means we're still not as bad as we could be, and there was some good news in that forecast. I didn't want to spend much time on it, but there was, of that 750, we're up $15 million for the corporate tax, which is our student investment account. Also, the actual budget went up since the last one in September, stability fund. So that was pretty good. So, there's a couple of good notes there. But that would be something we look at. I think if we do our homework now, we have some timelines we have to hit. And that means we have to get things out by March if we're going to go out for the May, if we're going to go out for the fall. And I think that's probably more realistic to go out. And that gives us time to summer. We would have to notify everyone we're going out for a bond, in the election in July. So those are the two timelines we have to meet. We're also looking at some extra money that Janet's been doing a great job looking at that. She's working with her colleagues in the state, and the 20 districts have already committed to looking at bonding our PERS. And if we bond our PERS, that will allow us to a couple $100,000 more, that we can have access to, and it would be savings us. So that would be something we could look at too, to help us to make ourselves look stronger in the future financially, and also to show fiscal accountability to our entire community. So that's pretty much my summary as I was looking at it. What we need to do is find out what the community values, future growth of the area. I will point out that one of the studies is very, very strong here. Anytime you have a new high school or new facility built in a school district, you automatically pick up between 9 and 15% growth of kids. So that would be something we want to sell to our entire community, knowing that 9% growth would be huge. And if we go up to 15, it'd be better. I think it also is very timely to poise in our community. We look at all the industries coming in and some of the future projects. I think we could tie this in and make it very positive for all of us. So I just think that it needs to be a team effort here. I think the working with the city, working with the county, and then, you know, if we could make sure our community values are implemented in whatever bond proposal we bring out, I think those are the things that make bonds successful to our community. And last thing I want to talk about is that I think our community deserves it. Now, I'm new here, but just watching it and listening, I would have a hard time personally, unless the community said so. I think we need to keep DMS in place. That building has got some great history and culture. I think if we could actually use that with some modification money and make it not only a building for now, but for the future. But that's something to wait to see. That's only gut feeling. I have not done any pencil out numbers or anything. But I'm just pointing out, though, I think that's the kind of thing we need to take into consideration. We need to take our community values in place, because we're going to ask the community to support schools at a high level. That being stated, we need to listen to them to make sure we reflect what they want. So, Mr. Chairman, that's all I have, but I wanted to open it up and just talk about, you know, does the board want us to go look at going out for a bond? If we do, where the next steps would be to get a committee, you know, from the board, and then look out for a community committee. And we call those community champions, and it can be, in the beginning, it can be exploratory. And that's where you make the superintendent go out and do some exploratory stuff, come back and keep the board an item, you know, every month, and just bring an update and let us know where we're at. We also can work with our company we already have, because they seem very on top of things. They have a good reputation, and you guys did a good job picking someone, I believe, that can do a good job for us, if that's the way we decide to go. So I've talked too much, so I'll leave it open to the board.
Go ahead, Amy.
So I guess my question for you, Michael, is I think it's a great idea to move forward on our buildings. However, I'm wondering the capacity that everybody has with COVID. That would be my only concern. I know the numbers from Lake County are still strong as far as employment, and the community is moving forward. But I know that the whole district is working very, very hard with COVID right now. And so I'm wondering, is that an additional task that we can maintain successfully? So that's my question for you.
And that's a great question. If you were to ask me that question today, I would say, no, we don't have the capacity to move forward, because we worked pretty hard the last couple days. The administrators have been working extremely hard. But I also, very legitimate question, very valid. I just think that even if we, you know, that's why I know we're not ready for May. I think it'd be too much of a lift for May. But I think we look at November, and also too, the average bonds in Oregon, you know, there's certain cities, by the way, Portland one of them, where they don't have to go to the failure rate that other parts of the state have. And, you know, and same with Lake Oswego, West Lynn. But most school districts have to have at least one out there in a failure at least 3 times. So that's something we want to look at. Not saying that we want to go with a failure. I think we do our homework and really reflect in what you're saying, Annie, is important. We get the feedback, we might hit a home run right out of the park. That would break all of our hearts. But I think, though, that
Right.
I just don't want to sit on there and wait a few months. Even if I wait till March for COVID, I think we're behind the 8 ball. I just think a little bit of work wouldn't hurt us, you know. And also, if it's on the agenda, it tells the superintendent and it tells the community it's something we want to explore. But I'll do whatever the board wants to do. I'm not asking for more work. We got plenty. But if this is something we want to do for the future, then need to know.
Well, I think it's probably something that we need to start working on.
Okay.
You know, just because we start this process and move forward and, you know, we stay in this COVID chaos, out into summer, that doesn't mean that we have to go forward with it in November.
That's a good point. We can always pull
But
it.
we can't, we're gonna be behind the 8 ball if we decide to start summertime, cause things are looking pretty good. So, you know, I think that we probably need to get this process started with the idea that if within the community and the state, it's still a mess out there, that, you know, we can kind of set it on the back burner for another 6 months if we have to, once we get there.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I can, oh, go ahead, Amy.
Oh, I was just gonna say that there is assistance. I don't know how much money we have left. I know that we already paid the company that gave us the assessment and was coaching us and organizing the meetings. Janet, you would probably know, but we left it, we had some sort of money already sunk into them that we can still use for help as well.
Yeah, we do have some money
I
for
don't
consulting, but I don't know how much it is.
Recall quite how much, but
We can get that for us next time.
Well, actually, I've got that off the top of my head. We paid half up front, and so we have that. I mean, and then the other half is rate on this next phase, which is the bond, going after the bond. So right, they're sitting on retainer for half of it at the moment.
I kind of look at it, Mr. Carter, as we got a brand new pencil.
Mhm.
We know what color pencil it is, but we can't write with it. We need to sharpen the pencil so that we know what we got, and whether that means using it in November or whatnot. But we really haven't done a great job of getting the community's input. We've had low participation at a couple of events that we've been to. We had all this talk of showing off the DMS building, and we never got a chance to go do those tours and things like that.
Well, and the same with, Susan's buildings, just so that people could see how
Yeah.
bad it
The
really,
windows.
how bad it really is.
Yeah,
Right, and it's hard to do that in the COVID, the point Annie made.
Right.
If COVID's still going, you can do a virtual tour, but most people won't.
Right.
Won't have the impact.
we did go to an OSAA meeting last January,
Mhm.
where we got to hear examples of schools that gave the example like they had to go before the
Right.
community 4 times before it passed, and things like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
We also saw examples of there in Harrisburg, where they
Right.
did a video showing, hey, here's what it looks like, because they took advantage of online technology there, and they showed some of the things that are really falling down. And they had the kids help put that together. Mr. Stratton and Mrs. Warner kind of thought that was a good idea last spring before we got sidetracked. And then there's also some folks in Bend that are really good at this. We've got their information, and they may be helpful to us in the future as well. So anyway,
That's good.
that was a good session, but we haven't done nearly enough to be successful towards letting the public say, hey, we've got a good product yet. So
Well, and I think
knowing
the
what we want to do.
other side of that is, we've got these huge bids and estimates, and we haven't sucked those into what's a realistic project either.
Okay, so if I'm hearing some good stuff, I'll probably sit down and make this a admin topic once in about 30 minutes on our admin meeting. We'll sit there and brainstorm and get some ideas from Susan and Lane and Chris. And then I'll contact Brian in Harrisburg and see what he's got there and get that video. Maybe that's something we can look at. I think that might be something we at least try. If we got some videos, even during COVID time, people were used to watching TV a little bit, so we can send out some stuff and let them see it. And that might be a good start, and then send a survey out. If we send a survey out blank right now with not much, I don't think that's gonna help us, so.
Right.
So our next step might be to come up with a little video, show them some of our concerns with a list, ship it out and let them see it, and go from there. I know we had wind yesterday, and, we had to work on that today. When, some of our tiles blew off on the the MS building and everything, cause the wind hit pretty heavy, you know, so. Yeah, we got some facility, needs. We also have, you know, not just regular maintenance, but, you know, we have some preventive maintenance we haven't done. So even looking back at this, our preventive maintenance, I would say, is probably less than, 10% of what we need to have done. So.
Okay.
Okay, we can work on that. So if I'm hearing the board correctly, then go ahead and pursue some things, get some more information, and keep bringing it back to the board, and then we can start funneling down till we get out to everyone to see where the community is, and then if we get enough information, we could probably do a community survey, maybe February. That'd be nice, and get some feedback from that. That would help us go back to our contractors, and they're experts at it. And I know they have some survey questions we can steal from them, and I'll make that one of my to-do lists too, is survey questions, because there's a lot out there. There's no need to reinvent the wheel. See which ones people can get back to us.
Seems as if we had some surveys, help me out guys, last year. They're pretty generic, and I don't think they did a very good deep dive. Didn't intrigue you to,
I don't know if we did a survey on the bond or if it was the SSS. What is the acronym? Does anyone remember?
Student Investment Act, SIA.
SIA.
Yes. I thought that was a lot of our information that we had compiled, and there were also public meetings going on about that,
yeah.
as well as the ones that the folks came from out of state to put on.
Okay, I'll look at that data a little more carefully. I'm sure there's,
Wrong.
okay. I'll look at that, because I'm sure that's
So,
probably been a good way.
go ahead, Janet.
Annie, you're right. It was SIA for the most part. I think, if I recall correctly, we had in regards to information, but it was very limited and it was very high level. It wasn't down to details. So I think you're right in that aspect. And so, but then the other bond ones that we were looking at and trying to compile, it kind of just got off because of everything in the spring. So I think we started, and probably Ben has most of that information, I would say.
Okay, well, I'll look at some of those survey questions, and then if the board's okay, maybe we can put this on the board agenda for January.
Sure.
That gives us some time to get some stuff done and see what other people are doing. I know there were 14 bonds that were passed in the state of Oregon. Of the 17 that went out, was huge. So I'll make a reach out to those superintendents in December at the law conference and see what they put out, because they might have learned some magic COVID symbol. I don't know. You never know. So, okay, that sounds good to me. Is there any other factors or considerations you would like me to take into consideration? I put that on my list.
Maybe open it up to Susan or Lane or Chris. Do you guys have anything to add there? Lane says he thought we did a bond survey. I'm pretty sure we did.
I thought we did a bond survey. And I was trying to pull up some old emails, and I have emails that talk about a survey, but I couldn't surf them up fast enough. But I'm pretty sure we did a bond survey, and I can't remember if it was just with the committee that we were trying to build or what, but I'm pretty sure we started with a pretty generic survey.
Yeah, I haven't seen that, but I'll look for it. Okay.
And there is some photography and some stuff put together, pictures of buildings that Lane's kids worked on, and we still have that. But it's not complete.
Okay, good start.
Okay.
What does the administrators think? You guys think we should look at it?
I think we should look at moving forward with the bond. Our buildings aren't going to get in any better shape. But I agree that we need to position ourselves to do this in the most advantageous time possible in order to think about our community's economic position. We might be a little early, but we gotta start somewhere.
Sounds good.
Okay. Anything else on this subject? All right, we got a few minutes. We'll go to 5 minutes. And we'll
Sure.
gonna call this meeting to order, and we're gonna start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome everybody. The meeting for Wednesday, November 18th, 2020. Do we have approval or amendment of the meeting agenda items?
I move to approve the meeting agenda items for the November 18th, 2020 board meeting as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the meeting agenda items for the November 18, 2020 board meeting as presented. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And Scott, this is where you do have to vote too.
Yeah, that's on my phone.
All right, we got you. Okay, approval of minutes.
I move to. Go ahead.
I move to approve the minutes of October 14th, 2020 as presented. Wait a minute, it must be a typo, I'm sorry. That's what mine says. November 18th, 2020 as presented.
No,
No.
the minutes were last
From
month.
last month. Yeah, that's right.
The agenda was for today, the minutes are last month.
Yes, I move to approve the minutes of October 14th, 2020 as presented. Sorry, I lost track.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of October 14, 2020 as presented. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. All right, good news.
So I got good news here. We have congratulations to one of our great music teachers, and I mentioned her earlier, Miss Davis. She was able to get a grant for A.D. Hay. Southern Oregon Go Kids Project is awarding $3,000 to purchase music equipment for the elementary school students, and outlined some proposals. So very nice job to her and Miss Warner for getting that out for our kids.
Awesome. That is good news. Okay, is there any public comment? All right, we're into reports, and we'll start with the principal's report. Mrs. Warner, you want to go?
You want to go with me first?
You were kind
Oh.
of supposed to be in good news.
I just want to make sure.
Oh.
Sorry. I saw to jump in there.
Okay.
They keep me going.
Sorry.
Mr. Chairman.
Good news, and then you just
I
gave
have
up.
good news and gave up.
Okay.
Sorry, Mr.
Superintendent
Chairman.
report, I'm
I
sorry.
screwed up. Okay, yeah, I always throw a curveball. Well, we have a lot going on. I just got a text that we do have a staff member who tested positive today, so I don't know all the details, but I'll keep you posted as I learn more. So, the COVID is right. I'll start off with that one. That's a big one. So I just sent a huge email to all of you and to all the staff. So what I've done is I've taken the entire, the latest, and I've cut it down to 5 or 6 pages, and it's actually more like 12 pages. But I made it very big font. I covered the part about, about the freeze and about what the governor's asking us to do and how that affects our school district. So I wanted to make sure I covered that. I think I covered most of it today, and that way we get some questions. A lot of rumors going on out there, so I ask everyone to please be, if they hear something, to share it so we can look into it. One of the administrators or myself will look into this and take care of it. We can't operate under rumors. In addition, I did my office here. We're closed. We're letting people drop things off, but I've sent a couple of our staff are not working here. They're working at home. So, I'll be in here, but I'll be isolated. So we're just trying to make sure that we have a lot of contact, and I'm not visiting schools. I'm not going to visit schools as much now until now the holiday. Just trying to keep as much cohorts in place as possible until we get through this next 2 weeks, and then hopefully the numbers will go down. But that being said, that we are in a very high uptick, not only in the country but in our particular county and in our city. So I think we need to make sure we behoove ourselves to wear the mask, to make sure that we, hold people accountable. And we had our first quarantine in our building this last week, and Ms. Warner and her team did a very good job. We went ahead and we followed all the matrix. They have all the different things we have to do. When they give a scenario, we followed it completely. And we actually quarantined more than we probably had to, but we have a very good relationship with our health department. And, we're gonna always err on the side of more than less. So that's important for us. So I want to make sure I mention that. That's a COVID update. Any questions on that before I move on? Okay, more to come, but read that meeting email. It's pretty long. It does cover all the major questions that have been asked about the governor's freeze and everything. The next thing I want to mention is the OSBA conference. I presented at that on Saturday in the morning and in the afternoon, and it was very well attended. A lot of good things we heard about. A lot of board members are having a very difficult time with COVID, in their districts. We did hear a lot from some of the districts that had it even worse than all of us with COVID. They also had the fires. So a lot of those superintendents talked about how the damage hit and impacted their districts. So that was really very melancholy, but they wanted to thank everyone for all the support. I do know a lot of our churches here and other groups have supported the fire victims, and we appreciate and thank you publicly for that. They also talked about the impact of that with the legislature. So that's going to hit Oregon as well with our budget, and that's one thing that's not reflected in the economic forecast, the replacement, because there is some smoke and fire damage that the state will have to cover that the federal government did not cover. So I wanted to mention that, but the conference was there, OSBA. They did talk a lot about implicit bias. They talked about how we come out to the beliefs we do. A couple keynote speakers, very powerful. So enjoyed those sessions and very informative. So a lot of those are still on there. So any board members who like to do that, there is a couple of sessions on there about for a new board member. There's a couple sessions you get on there for free about new board member techniques, and they videotape those, so they're pretty good. So I wanted to mention the OSBA conference. I want to mention the law conference is coming up the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, and that's a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I have a group of 4 of us presenting to the small schools. We have 2 lawyers who specialize in small schools, so we'll be doing that on the 2nd, and that's from 1 to 4. And I did purchase that. It's $90, and that allows us to go. So any board member, or aspiring administrator who would like to come, sit in that, we'll make sure we have that for you. I want to mention that the light update, we were supposed to have all the lights done by Tuesday, but the lift, we had 3 different issues with the lift. Everything's bad, so they bring in the new lift. Once the new lift gets here, we'll take care of the lights. But that's what happened there. In the future, Janet and I talked, and we wanted to tell the board that we also have Fremont, we have the Ag Shop, the Wood Shop, DMS lights that we'd like to go forward with. So if the board goes forward with the lights tonight, then we're going to bring that to you probably in December, and probably not December, probably January, because that will allow us to get those incentives, and then we'd have all the lights done in our entire district, which would be great and save us money. So really pleased with our maintenance crew who's been doing that. The electrician came in and said he was very pleased with the way our crew has they've really done a great job. They're going to meet the timeline. I want to mention the big thing now, and that's the December 7th. So I sent a long email out to everybody again. I've been sending a lot of long emails out, which I don't like doing, but they're very informative about why we're doing things. So the change December 7th, we looked at November 30th. We looked at January 4th, and then it just comes out the best time for all of us with everything going in place is to go with December 7th. So when we come back from the Thanksgiving break, we'll be able to, the freeze goes on to the 2nd of December, but we'll be able to get all the information out with the schedule for everyone. Janet's working with her bus crew to come up with the best bus route that we can have. We might have to add another or change in route, so we don't know yet. They're working on that. The bus team is working really hard to do that to make it as safe as possible. Some of our buses were running with 1 or 2 people and it didn't make sense. So now we'll be able to make that work for everyone. So that's coming on. We'll go back to normal schedule, start one bus route, and everyone gets out at the same time. So we'll keep you posted, and of course everything could be changing. It depends on what happens in the county. If the numbers do get, someone asked the question, if you look at the email I sent out, you'll read that the only way we will keep closing cohorts, is if we get to a place where the governor or the health authority closes the county. And that would be, like they did in Douglas County or Jackson if our numbers keep going up. So right now we're in school, a lot of rumors out there we're closing school. I won't close school unless I just can't get enough subs, like, one of our other districts did locally, or if the numbers get to a place where we can't keep everyone safe. So that's pretty much it. Our kids are actually safer, than in school than they are in some other places. So I'll just leave it at that. But I wanted to make sure I covered those things, Mr. Chairman. Are there any questions?
I guess the only thing that I would have is, in the long run, would we benefit if our numbers continue to increase the next couple of days? To having 9 days out, and that's only 2 days that we're out of school, since we're already out 3 days next week anyway.
When I like I said, I just got the text here, I almost took the phone call, but I didn't, and I'll get more details afterwards. I was asked by somebody, why don't I keep sending out information to the community? I've been getting on the radio and trying to be very vague on things. I don't want to make a proclamation, then all of a sudden I find out that afternoon it changes for the numbers. So to be honest with you, right now, we met with our admin team. We all agreed that keep our kids here. We get everybody disinfected. But then the issue is, if it gets to a certain place, yes, I will do that on Monday and Tuesday. If I do that, then I will have some staff members stay Monday and Tuesday and disinfect the entire, more than a really deep cleaning. And then also I will let the teachers work on lesson plans in case we have to go to consolidated district learning. So to answer your question, we're prepared for that if we have to. Ideally, we don't want to.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am, I think she has a question.
Annie, go ahead.
Like that question that you asked, Corey, I think it has some validity. However, I would mention on the flip side, I hope that parents take this just as seriously as we are, and that if we decided to do that, this wouldn't be an extended playtime and get-togethers and kids playing, and you see where I'm going with this. I would hope that everyone could respect that we're doing this to keep everyone apart, sanitize buildings, and not an extra vacation and for kids to be roaming around the streets together. So that is also a concern with giving them more time, I guess,
Yeah, and I appreciate that, and that's pretty much what I said in my email. I'm telling everybody, you might have to make some changes. I know I made personal changes. I will not get to spend time with my family on Thanksgiving because it's just not a safe place with that many people. So I'm hoping everyone does that and tries to make sure we're safe.
Any other comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Are we complete with
Yes, sir.
superintendent?
Sorry about that. I'm done. I won't do that to you again.
All right, one more time. Was there any public comment?
No.
Okay, reports. We'll go to principal report. Mrs. Warner?
Okay, I'm gonna visit with you a little bit tonight in my report about all the things that are going on in your elementary school, and we can talk about COVID a little bit at the end. Fall testing is done, which means we benchmark test fall, winter, and spring. And we have some math and reading scores on our kids, so we know what gaps they have from the being out of school last spring. We were pretty pleased with a lot of the scores that came back. We had prepared for them to be much lower overall, and they were not. They really were not too bad. So with that information, we formed reading and math interventions, and those are up and going, where kids are getting targeted help in the areas that they have deficits. We did a full set of safety drills in October, including evacuations. Janice Heigl has been here as a math consultant from a grant, and she'll be back again the first part of December. That grant money needs to be spent as soon as possible, and so she's been working with our teachers at the elementary level with their new math series. We have Amy Fortune from the ESD, who is working with our K-1-2 teachers. Our K-1-2 teachers have really stepped up and been working behind the scenes last spring and this fall, and they have revamped their way they're teaching reading. We've had a consistent reading series, but we have not always made everything consistent. And these teachers have everything consistent from the way they say the letter sounds now to their alphabet, which doesn't mean much unless you're teaching little kids how to make a k sound every day and they don't know how to make it. And the other teacher down the hall is making it a different way. It really creates some reading problems later, but you don't want to hear all about that. Every Tuesday we have Google training. We have a checklist for our teachers working through becoming Google Classroom ready, and that's progressing nicely. We had an amazing Veterans Day performance with Suzanne Davis and her fifth graders. They practiced the national anthem and were invited to perform at the courthouse, and that was really very, very moving. Assemblies are happening by grade level. We had our first set of assemblies. We did them all day long in the gym by grade level and spaced the kids out, and it went really well. It was nice to have something kind of normal happening for the kids. We were able to recognize them for some academic achievement as well as attendance. Mentor classes are going on with Mr. Carter, and I've sat in on several of them, and they are very valuable for our young teachers. They're getting a lot of really great information. We had great attendance at conferences. We had less than a handful of students that chose a virtual option. We offered both live attendance or virtual. We had, I think, 4 folks that chose virtual, and that was it. Those parents really wanted that face-to-face information about their kids and where they were at. We will be hosting virtual Christmas programs. Each grade level will go into the gym and they will film their Christmas program piece, and then we will post those. They'll be released the week before winter break. The staff at the elementary school is really pretty impressive in that we are not required to do health screenings by the state, but we know that our kids are in need of some services. So we are doing dental services. November 30th through December 4th, we'll be hitting dental services, vision, and hearing hard. We are working to revamp schedules to be ready for the extended day on December 7th. Our teachers are very excited to have the additional time with their students for instruction. And then I wanted to visit a little bit about COVID. I know there's lots of rumors out there. It would encourage board members, if people have questions and you're not sure, please have them call me, and I'm happy to work through whatever I can with them so that they have a better understanding, because of the rumors breeding so much fear. Our custodians are disinfecting all the time, but some great learning is happening. Even these little guys have their masks on. Scott has not been to the elementary school since we started this year, and he stopped by today. He was leaving for a trip, and he said, those little guys are really doing a great job with their masks. And they do. They wear those little masks like little troopers. But we are recognizing the trauma with our kids has taken a toll on them, and it still continues for those parents that are struggling economically. And I am really pushing to keep kids in school and close down a few cohorts if we have to, but keep them in school learning every day. The academics is good for them, but we know they're fed and we can keep eyes on them. We have some pretty dire situations, and the holidays always kind of compound that. And that's all I have for this evening. Do you have any questions?
You got a lot going on there, Susan. It sounds like some great stuff, so appreciate that update.
You're welcome.
Did we lose
I
Lane?
think we might have lost Lane.
His computer crashed. I was on the phone to him just now.
Okay,
We can
So
move on
he
to
said
Mr.
if he can't, he hopes to get back on. If he can't, he'll.
okay. So do we want to go to Mr. Rose?
Sure. I'll start with the academy. Currently it's 78 students, and leveled out, we're pretty strong there, although a couple of families have expressed their interest in returning to campus that semester. And it's probably a good fit for a couple of them. And we have a lot of families, students that are doing really strong. It's a good fit for them, and it really is a question about that fit, self-discipline of the child and how much support they have. We're doing all that we can to provide all the support we can at the Learning Center, which has really worked out pretty well. I really feel like for an online school, we are providing some of the best service there is, just because of the availability of staff, through emails, phone calls, and the Learning Center, and what we can do to provide help. So it's been pretty good with that. We have Mrs. Young, Ms. Farr, working hard to communicate with almost all of our students. We have an at-risk list. We have prioritized our students for letters, phone calls, meetings, and such. And I think we are inundating some with outreach in order to make sure they're plugged in and moving forward. And conferences went pretty well. We did have a handful of Lakeview Academy families that wanted conferences, which was great. We did a couple in person and a couple over the phone. We had teachers from Ingenuity there as well. It was really pretty good. It was nice to have a group effort there. And we're still meeting with a couple of families. We postponed a few. We're still meeting with a couple more families in person next week probably. Mr. Carter mentioned the law conference. I'll mention it too. I'm looking forward to doing some more learning. That's part of the new Principals Academy as well that Mr. Carter and Lane approved for me to attend this year. So that's been very educational. Has been online, but I will plug our hotspots that we have. I took our hotspots to the Paisley Rodeo one weekend, and all that morning I was using video, attending my new Principals Academy conference in the car, and it worked great. And so I think in terms of providing internet for students that lose service or have an issue in a certain area, those hotspots that we have work fantastic. And for athletics, with the freeze release from the governor last week, we did close our campus to outside groups, and we're just keeping our cohorts there, middle school and high school. But we do have, for example, a group that meets with middle school girls and a group that meets with high school girls with an off-campus person, but that's still okay. There's still a cohort. OSAA came out with some new information today, and OHA. I haven't had a chance to read through all of that yet today, but we are finishing up our season 1 pretty soon here in about a month. Is over. There are no more events scheduled for season 1. And during season 1, we had volleyball, baseball, softball, cross country, girls soccer, and even 7-on-7 football. And so season 1, I think for us and for a lot of open schools, it's pretty nice to be able to kind of throw a carrot to the kiddos, allow them to participate in training, conditioning, practicing, and then have some competition. And it was amazing to me. There was a small private school all the way over in the Salem area that wanted to play volleyball and was just desperate to play and had nobody to play, and they were willing to drive further than we drive for our league games, just for something, just for a 90-minute game. It was crazy. And there was a school in the Rogue Valley area that wanted to play soccer, and the coach was just crying because every school that they had scheduled tried to play just kept canceling and couldn't do it. And so there's some schools out there that are desperate to play. There are little pockets where they're open, so we were fortunate enough with a lot of Eastern Oregon schools to be able to participate in some things. The kids have been healthy on the teams. It's great to see them out there, and we know that with the mental health challenges that have arisen through the closure, it's great to see our kiddos have something to look forward to, have something to do, be physically active, and doing grade checks for the athletes. I don't think I've ever seen such good grades for our student athletes. It was pretty amazing this week looking at those and how well the grades were and how few kiddos were going to require a plan of assistance. That was very encouraging to me.
A quick question, Mr. Rose. The attendance online is at 78. Was it down to 68 and now it's back up to 78? Or
no, 78 was as low as it got. That was a typo in that release. It was 78. Yeah, okay. It hasn't changed. It hasn't fluctuated that much since the end of the quarter. We had a couple at the elementary determined to come back at the quarter, but it's been 78.
Okay. Thanks.
So one weird thing that I didn't really think about is those numbers of the academy are no longer in the high school numbers. So when you look at like Logan's class ranking, because I had to do it when I was filling out school stuff, his class ranking went way down. He's still in his same spot, but he doesn't have as many kids now.
Ooh, that's interesting.
I hadn't thought about that, and I'm like, why are there that many?
But they're still eligible though.
Well, no, but some of the stuff for college, you rank, you have your GPA, you have what your percentile of class ranking was.
Uh,
So beforehand, he was in the top 25%, and now he's not. And he's still 13. It's just
different percentage.
different percentage.
That's the side thing we never thought about.
Well, I didn't think about it until I was filling out that paperwork, and I'm like, well,
It's something we can look at too, Mr. Rose, you and I, and maybe see if there's a waiver, because a lot of times that's not the only.
It's not- I don't-
You know that's not just happening here.
right, and I don't think it's gonna make any difference for him. It might have made that one scholarship they were talking about $1,000 instead of 1,500, because he's no longer in the top 25% or the top 20, whatever it was.
Well, we'll look into it, because that's something we can think about.
And it probably only makes any difference for seniors,
Yeah.
because nobody else, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
It was just
That's valuable.
a weird thing.
All right, any other questions for Mr. Rose? I see we have Mr. Stratton back. Go ahead, Lane.
Oh yeah, technology finally bit me. Sorry. Was trying to plug in a charger and I hit the power button on the power strip and shut everything down. Gosh darn it. Anyways, for us here at the high school, I think today we brought in a trainer, KM Wall from Ben Lapine. She's a 30-year veteran, and she talked to him about diploma tracks, specifically modifications and accommodations for students. Not just our IEP 504 or ELL students, but just all students in general as best practices. And so she talked to the whole class for an hour, not the class, the whole teacher staff for an hour. And then 1st through 7th period, she continued that staff development in 3 to 4 small content groups. Every teacher got 2 hours of training today on modifications and accommodations. It was pretty powerful. Excited to get feedback from her and possibly either bring her back or have her help me lead further staff developments on this subject. And that was a House Bill 3499 expenditure. So thank you, Susan Albertson, and for that one. And I think just most importantly that we're blessed to be open and we celebrate our opening every day. We're most likely the safest environment for our students because of masks, the physical distancing and disinfection, and all the hard work that everybody's done to get us there. So, I spent a lot of time in the last 2 weeks talking to people whose students don't get to come to school in face, or like the lady that was here today, and she goes, I just want to sit in a classroom. Can I go just sit in the classroom and experience this? Because she doesn't get to, and so it's pretty awesome. So other than that, it's been pretty normal, wild and crazy and busy, but it is a school and that's what we expect. So just happy to be here with students in the building.
Okay. All right. Any questions for Lane? All right, thank you. Let's go to Mrs. Chavez, Special Ed.
Good. The special education has been receiving professional development and support from Dr. Kath, just out of Portland, Oregon. Specific issues we've been working around are paperwork for special education and special education law. Along with, we've had some great trainings on trauma-informed care, as well as writing IEPs to meet the needs of Medicare billing. We look hosting her after the holidays in Lake County, and we hope that we can do that, continue with this professional development. It's been a great support for us, and she's been very helpful and a very good mentor and coach for all of that's all I have this evening. Do you guys have any questions?
Nope, not here. All right,
You got it.
thank you, Lonnie. All right, next up is Janet with financial report.
Okay, good evening, everybody. So you guys probably should have got your financial report at a later time this morning, and I apologize for expecting to be so virtual this evening. So I apologize for the lateness on that. Through this real quick, as far as revenues are concerned, that should be your first page. our projected year-to-date revenues, we looked at that as being about 22%. We're actually at 23%. That has a lot to do with the state source. We've got the Common School Fund, which we get twice a year, and then that's also inclusive of our school fund, which you'll see over there to the far right. 32% was projected, but we're actually at 33%. Our local sources are up also from what we projected at 6% from what we've had in the past, which 8% is what we've gathered this far, and your that we've levied. A couple of highlights from September: we did receive from the fires them in our buildings there. We did receive that. Which was a shock because I didn't get any. It kind of just appeared. So we did get that. We have that sitting in a separate fund. We don't have that sitting in our general fund. We're kind of that. Mr. Carter and I have been discussing various sort of things, which I think he'll present at time. But it is in a separate fund, kind of as a rainy day situation for us. Also, we got a PACE dividend, which is our PACE insurance. We received about $6,000 from that, so that was kind of a highlight for September. Let's see, 100, and then of course, that's nothing really spectacular because we're kind of maxed out on that. It was only about 5. That really isn't anything exciting there, but it's sort of extra coming in. As far as the revenue, we're pretty much on track. October and November is going to look a little bit better to bill and get some funds from the state. Finally, they rolled their year, things like that. So it's taken them a while because they're so remote. They're all working from home. Did do that and had those for us. So we'll see a little bit more action as we get going there. Our expenditures, let's see here. So projected year to date is about 13%, and we are under that at 12%. Now, keep in mind, September, we're also, some of our, especially like our elementary and that sort of thing, really do all of their ordering July, August, and we see a big hit in some of those bills then. And of course, we were behind. Also, we have a shipping issue with most everything, whether they order off of Amazon, which should be here in 2 days. That has not been happening. So there's been quite a bit of delay. So I don't expect to see a big chunk till October and really see where we are once we get finalized in October, which will come up in the next. Our salaries and benefits is a little bit higher than what we projected. Obviously, we've got lots more going on. We've got lots of cleaning going on, so that's expected. I think what added that realm, and then of course your classified staff and that sort of thing, and just because of your added that are required to pandemic. So actual 14% was what we projected. We're only at 12%, which makes sense with our ordering, etc. The other thing that I wanted to bring to light is we were looking within our forecast 5, where we do a lot of our projections, funky year for us. I need to upload October in order to really project out better for November out to June of next year. So that it may change drastically by the time we look at October, bring that to light, just so you guys know what I'm up to around there. Your last payment balances, blue is your current year and your red is your prior year. And right at the moment, we're kind of holding steady here. If you look at September, we do anticipate a big jump in November. Obviously, this is for the most part. And I have started seeing that come in. I haven't seen a deposit yet this week, because it's usually on a weekly basis, and you get one. So I suspect it'll probably be by the end of the week, everything reconciled on her end, would be my thought process. On anybody to be alarmed by the 737,000. It's going to be lower than what we anticipated it to be, just because of the extra. However, there's a lot of tweaking on those projections that still need to be taking place, and we didn't feel that with our whole payroll and everybody being back on was really justified. So we really wanted to wait till we uploaded October. So this could really drastically change in the next financial statement, bringing forward. So just so you guys keep alarmed just yet. Is there any questions?
Looks like we need to wait for October.
Yeah.
Thanks, Janet. All right. If you're done, Janet, are you good?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay. Any old business? Hearing none, go to new business. School nurse memorandum of understanding. Is there a little explanation here?
Explanation here on this one, this is, we have a memo of understanding with the union, because they didn't have that spot in their contract. So, we negotiate, we'll just go ahead and make sure it's in the contract, but right now we have to have a spot for it. So it should be working with the certified union, so we come up with an agreement and added it, and that's what this is.
Okay. Do you have a motion? Any other discussion? Motion?
I move to approve the school nurse memorandum of understanding between Lake County School District Number 7 and Lakeview, Oregon Education Association as presented.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the school nurse MOU between Lake County School District Number 7 and Lakeview, Oregon Education Association as presented. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Aye.
Thanks. Superintendent, school resource officer.
So I sent out the intergovernment agreement with them, so we approve that, and then if the sheriff's office approves it, then we're set to just have a nice understanding for the next 3 years.
Excellent.
Okay, so I move to approve the school resource officer memorandum of understanding between the Lake County Sheriff's Office and Lake County School District Number 7 as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the school resource officer MOU between Lake County Sheriff's Office and Lake County School District Number 7 as presented. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries. Number 3, OSBA policy, ACB.
Yeah, this is the one where all students are belonging, so I always get that wrong, so I'm working on it. So this is an option that they said that we have to pass on the state board, so we have it passed by January.
Is this the one we talked about last time?
Yes, ma'am.
I move to approve the OSBA policy ACB as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the OSBA policy ACB as presented. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries. Number 4, football stadium lights acceptance.
So I need to get the board to let me spend the money to pay for the lights.
Okay. Janet, anything to add?
Not at all. I just was gonna bring to light that that 79,000 would get essentially reimbursed to our through the SB 1140. Just so you guys are aware of that. We sit on those funds in a special fund. However, we have to reimburse ourselves, but that comes at the end of the project. So, just so you know, that's going to start coming, or that would be where that, and then of course the 29 due payable there, as you see at the end, for all the energy trust bonuses, energy trust and the energy trust bonus that's happening. So basically, we just need it on the contract.
So, go ahead, Corey.
Go ahead.
So by the time we get the energy trust money and pay ourselves back, what's the difference? What,
9,000 is what will be out of pocket, roughly.
9,000?
39,000.
Oh, 39,000.
But I think it should be
29.
29,000.
29.
Is it this 29,517?
29,517, yeah.
Okay.
And that's pessimistic.
So this
And our
is,
energy trust dollars are going to go straight to dynamic energy. So they don't have to pass through us to get to them. So this dynamic energy is going to speed up the process essentially with the energy trust. They'll get it directly from them.
so this work that we're doing is going to last us for a lot of years, and it's something that we've been putting off for several years, but finally found the right combination here to make this happen. Okay, do we have any other discussion on that? Do we have a motion?
I move to accept the football stadium lights as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept the football stadium lights as presented. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries. Okay, number 5, LOEA negotiations team established.
So what we're looking at is we met with the union presidents yesterday, so both groups, and we're looking at our contract ends in June 30th, so we'd like to get on negotiations now. So I'd like to get a couple board members can't go over 2 because of the quorum, but 2 would be nice if the board does that, and then we will sit down together with them, and both groups leaned to collaborative bargaining, but they have to go to the members.
All right, so do we have a couple volunteers that would like to be part of this negotiation team from the board? They're all on. They all got their mute on.
Can I be a virtual head? I'm in if I can be a virtual head.
We'll make that work.
Okay, Annie's one.
All right. It's been about 4 or 5 years. I'm back in.
And I can be a second.
That's good. I'm not good at this job right there, because I'm kind of hard-headed and
All
they
right,
don't like me.
so we need a motion.
I can do that. I move to approve the established board negotiation team for the 2021 negotiations with LOEA. The board negotiation team will include Annie Button, board member, and Barry Schulenberger, board member, superintendent, and our business manager.
Second.
It's been moved. It's been moved and seconded to approve the established board negotiation team for the 2020-21 negotiations with L-OEA. The board negotiation team will include Annie Bunton, board member, and Barry Schulenberger, board member, superintendent, and business manager. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries. Number 6, OSEA negotiation team established. Superintendent, what's the
Mark
difference?
that one off.
You could, I would do the same group,
Yeah.
is what I would.
Same group? Okay. So, if we could have a motion, and Annie, if you're agreement to doing both, I think we're good.
Okay, I move to approve the established board negotiation team for the 2020-21 negotiations with OSEA. The board negotiation team will include Annie Button, board member, Barry Schulenberger, board member, superintendent, and our business manager.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the established board negotiation team for the 2020-21 negotiations with OSEA. The board negotiation team will include Annie Bunton, board member, and Barry Schulenberger, board member, superintendent, and business manager. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries. We're down to consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as presented. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries. Announcements.
I just have a new one. We do have a positive case, like I mentioned, at the school district. So tonight, a lot of us will be working to notify a group of students who will be quarantining plus staff. So we'll have at least 2 staff quarantined plus some students, so more to come.
All right. Next board meeting agenda items.
Not much except the ongoing, holiday thanks to our staff. And then also, I don't know if you've done that before, but I was gonna ask if you wouldn't mind that you do a holiday proclamation from the board, if you guys are up to that.
Sure.
So I'd like to add that, make it a new tradition for us. And then also I'd like to talk about, the negotiation budget, so. I'm going to have an executive session.
Okay.
Do we have, when is our next board?
It's December 14th,
December 9th.
December 9th.
And then, I can't remember, did we start moving up the superintendent evaluation? We have that on our plates coming up, don't we?
Yeah.
Or are we waiting all the way till January to get rolling?
Yeah, it begins in
I
January.
would, it's up to you. I'll do whatever you guys want. I work for you. I would prefer to wait till January because COVID's just really, it's taken over everything.
Yeah, let's wait till
It's
after
fair,
the holidays.
It's fair. I just know that we were straggling at one point, and then we tried to bump it up a little bit, and then I'm open. I just wanted to put that out there. I know it's rolling up and it takes a couple months, so.
And if we put the bond and put that on the January, that would be great.
We'll be busy. Okay, adjournment.
I move we adjourn the meeting.
Second.
It's moved and seconded to adjourn the meeting. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye.